that? You can't see it. Okay. Who can't see it? Bobby says she can't see it. Now it's all black. Can you guys see what I have on here? Okay. What is this a picture of? Whose picture is it?
Alexander Hamilton.
Okay. He was the Secretary of the Treasury. Now, let me just give you some background to him. The amazing wealth that we enjoy today, not only in this country, but all over the world, is because of this guy largely. He created the financial system, which is the envy of the world, okay? In 1900, which is 120 years ago, not really that long ago, the life expectancy in Mexico was 30 years. Today, the life expectancy in Mexico is 76, which is 2 years less than it is in the United States. So it's largely because of the financial system that was built on his original model that created this enormous abundance and wealth in the United States and also through the whole world, okay? So this man's elevated the living standard of the entire world, not just the United States. And that's important to understand, okay? Now, I'm going to go into the next aspect of this because it's really quite interesting. This is in the White House in about 2009, okay?
I'm thrilled the White House called me tonight because I'm actually working on a hip-hop album. It's a concept album about the life of someone I think embodies hip-hop, Treasury Secretary Alexander Hamilton. You laugh! But it's true. He was born a penniless orphan in St. Croix of illegitimate birth, became George Washington's right-hand man, became Treasury Secretary, caught beef with every other founding father, and all on the strength of his writing. I think he embodies the word's ability to make a difference. So I'm going to be doing the first song from that tonight. I'm accompanied by Tony and Grammy-winning music director Alex Lacamoire. Anything you need to know. I'll be playing Vice President Aaron Burr, and snap along if you like. How does an orphan son of a Scotsman dropped in the middle of a forgotten spot in the Caribbean by providence, impoverished and squalor, grow up to be a hero and a scholar? The $10 founding father without a father got a lot farther by working a lot harder, by being a lot smarter, by being a self-starter. By 14, they had placed him in charge of the trade and charter, and every day while slaves were being slaughtered or carted away across the waves, our Hamilton kept his guard up. Inside he was longing for something to be a part of. The brother was ready to beg, steal, borrow, or barter. And a hurricane came and devastation reigned, and our man saw his future dripping down the drain. Put a pencil to his temple, connected it to his brain, and he wrote his first refrain, a testament to his pain. Well, the word got around, they said, this kid is insane, man. Took up a collection just to send him to the mainland. Get your education, don't forget from whence you came, and the world is gonna know your name. What's your name, man? Alexander Hamilton. His name is Alexander Hamilton. And there's a million things he hasn't done, but just you wait, just you wait. When he was 10, his father split, full of it, debt-ridden. 2 years later, see Alex and his mother bedridden, half dead, sitting in their own sick, the scent thick, and Alex got better, but his mother went quick. Moved in with the cousin committed suicide, left him with nothing but ruined pride, something new inside, a voice saying, Alex, you gotta fend for yourself. He started retreating and reading every treatise on the shelf. There would have been nothing left to do for someone less astute. He would have been dead and destitute without a cent of restitution. Started working, clerking for his late mother's landlord, trading sugar cane and rum and other things he can't afford, scamming for every book he can get his hands on, planning for the future. See him now as he stands on the bow of a ship headed for a new land. In New York, you can be a new man. The ship is in the harbor now, see if you can spot him. Another immigrant coming up from the bottom. His enemies destroyed his rap, America forgot him. And me, I'm the damn fool that shot him. Alexander Hamilton, we were waiting in the weeds for you. You could never back down, you always had to speak your mind. But Alexander Hamilton, we could never take your deeds from you. In our cowardice and our shame, we will try to destroy your name. But the world will never be the same, Alexander. Yeah, I'm the damn genius that shot him.
Okay, did you all hear that? Did you enjoy that? Do you want to unpack that now? We'll unpack it lyric by lyric, okay? I'm going to share with you now, we're going to wind this up and I'm going to show you the actual part in the, this was in 2009, I'll show 2009 and I'll show you the one that was done in 2016 and you'll see the maturity and so forth and how they changed. Does anybody need to be let in? Okay, we got everybody here. Nobody's trying to get in. Okay, great. Okay, I'm going to go back and share, and we're going to work through the lyrics together here.
How does an orphan and a Scotsman dropped in the middle of a forgotten spot in the Caribbean by providence, impoverished and squalor, grow up to be a hero and a scholar?
Okay, so it starts out, and I'm going to go back over that. How does an orphan and a Scotsman dropped in the middle of a forgotten island in the Caribbean? Okay, now let's talk about that. What was the Caribbean islands in the middle of the 18th century, which would be around 1760, right around there? What was that usually used for? What was the main purpose of a Caribbean island? This Caribbean island, I've been there, by the way. I was on a sugarcane. Someone says sugarcane. Braden says sugarcane. That's one of the main things they used it for, was sugarcane. That's true. In where St. Croix and Nevis are these two islands, and you can see them. They're just separated by about 2 or 3 miles, and they're just little islands there. But they were actually a waypoint for slaves. And so it was very brutal. Slaves were taken there before they were shipped to the New World. Now, this may surprise many of you, and it surprises a lot of people to know this, but it's true. Only about 4% of the slaves from Africa went to the United States, or the colonies as they were called back then. Only about 4%. 96% went to Brazil and throughout the Caribbean islands and to South America and Central America, and they were dispersed all around the New World in those locations. And a lot of people think they all came to the United States, but very few actually came to the United States. And so Hamilton was born on this little island, Nevis. It was Nevis. And he was surrounded by slavery and the slavery trade. It was horrible. Just the brutality he experienced was unbelievable. And he was born into impoverished and squalor. And his father, his parents were both of European descent. His father was a Scotsman. His parents were not married, which was a real strike against somebody to have unmarried parents back then, okay?
Impoverished and squalor, grow up to be a hero and a scholar.
And Alexander Hamilton grew up to be a hero and a scholar, and we'll talk more about some of his accomplishments there in this song.
$10 founded.
Now, this is a very clever part of this song. it says Lawrence/Phillips. The fellow who sings this, who you're going to see in the first half of the play, his role is for John Laurens, who was a close friend of Hamilton's. And the second half, after the intermission, he plays Philip, who is Hamilton's son. But this is an interesting line. The $10 founding father without a father got a lot farther by working a lot harder. So it's what's called a triple entendre, where I showed you the $10 bill with the Hamilton's picture on it. $10 founding father without a father got a lot farther. So they take that word father and they expand it and use it 3 times in this line. One of the things I have to tell you about this music that I really love, and maybe you guys will love it for this reason as well, is this music really captures the spirit of adventure. We'll get to that when we get there. I'll tell you the part. But this song really embodies emotions that are reflected in the play. Let's look a little further into Hamilton's life.
By working a lot harder, by being a lot smarter, by being a self-starter. By 14, they placed him.
Okay, now what this meant was Hamilton believed in child labor, which sounds odd today to say that, but he believed in child labor because he saw child labor as a way to really get ahead in life. And so today we want to put children in school, which is fine, and protect children from child labor. We have child labor laws that are very powerful here. But back then, he really had to grow up fast for reasons I'm going to explain. And so he was 14 years old, about a little older than you guys are, and they placed him in charge of a trading charter, which meant he basically was like a manager. Imagine being a manager of 2 McDonald's restaurants, 3 McDonald's restaurants. Imagine being 14 and having this huge responsibility. And it was a huge responsibility that Hamilton had at the age of 14. And he stepped up to the plate and he delivered. He had to grow up very fast. If Hamilton had not grown up very fast, he would have probably died of starvation in this little Caribbean island.
In charge of a trading charter.
And every day while slaves were being slaughtered and carted away across the waves, he struggled and kept his guard up.
Okay, every day while slaves were being slaughtered and carted away across the way, Hamilton struggled and kept his guard up. Inside, he was longing for something to be a part of. The brother was ready to beg, steal, borrow, or barter. Now, he had to grow up very fast, but how do you think people raised under those circumstances feel about slavery? How do they feel about slavery? You can type it in there. When they see this brutality, how do most people tend to respond when they're raised in this brutality? Are they pro-slavery, anti-slavery? What usually happens? They feel like it's normal. Very good, Braden. I really appreciate that. Chase says anti-slavery. I think very, very often, and I say this because in the South, people raised in slavery tended to defend slavery as a positive thing. Hamilton was not pro-slavery. He rose above that and saw it as a really brutal institution. He would not exactly be considered, he wouldn't be considered, have our view of civil rights and race and that sort of thing. But he certainly did not appreciate the brutality of slavery and did not subscribe to that at all. Oh, wait a minute. What happened? Oh, I know.
Borrow or barter.
Okay, let's...
carted away across the waves, he struggled and kept his guard up. Inside, he was longing for something to be a part of. The brother was ready to beg, steal, borrow, or barter.
Then a hurricane came. Hurricane came.
Okay, this is what I want to show you guys. Okay, now. Then a hurricane came and devastation reigned. Our man saw his future dripping down the drain. Now, I want you guys to understand. A few years ago, you guys remember the Puerto Rican hurricane that wiped out a lot of Puerto Rico. We recently had a hurricane in the Bahamas, okay? Hurricanes happen in the Caribbean. but when there was a hurricane back then, it really wiped everything out. And there was a hurricane that was so devastating, it just crushed everything. They didn't have building codes like we have building codes today. So the devastation was beyond anything we could imagine. Now, here these people are, and they want to tell the world about this horrible hurricane that devastated them. And they didn't have pictures. When you learned about the recent hurricane in the Bahamas, you saw pictures on TV. When Puerto Rico happened a few years ago, you saw pictures of the results of the Puerto Rican hurricane. We saw pictures. They didn't have pictures. They only had words. And so Hamilton was a word master. And so he wrote up to explain to the world the way that hurricane had devastated them. And it really engendered a lot of aid to the Caribbean island. And people in the Western world gave and helped the people of Nevis and helped the people of St. Croix and some of the Caribbean islands that had been destroyed by the hurricane, helped them to come back from that. And it was largely because of Hamilton's brilliant writing and explaining, and with words, creating pictures in a sense that could mobilize so much of the Western world to help them. So our man saw his future dripping down the drain. So anyway, this hurricane really came and impacted Alexander Hamilton's life in a positive way, strange as that may sound, but it's true. And so then we're going to move along now and look at the next one.
Devastation reigned on man who saw his future dripping down the drain. Put a pencil to his temple.
Okay, so the people there said, this guy is so brilliant. He put a pencil to his temple, connected it to his brain, and he wrote his first refrain, a testament to his pain, okay? And this is what the result was.
And he wrote his first refrain, a testament to his pain. Well, the word got around, they said...
Okay, the word got around, they said, this kid is insane, man. They didn't really say that. What they said is, this guy's brilliant. Let's take up, it says here, took up a book collection just to send him to the mainland. That isn't what the lyrics are. The lyrics are, they took up a collection just to send him to the mainland. And they wanted Hamilton to take this brilliance, go to the mainland, get an education, and return to St. Croix, return to Nevis, and then take that intellectual power and bring it back to the islands. Do you think Hamilton ever returned? Type in and tell me, did Hamilton return after they sent him to the mainland to get an education? Did he return, yes or no? No, he didn't. A bunch of you say no. In a sense, he did return. And he returned very recently, in the last year, in fact, in this way. Lin-Manuel Miranda took, in the last few years, and he took and raised millions of dollars because of the devastation in the of the Bahamas, the devastation in Puerto Rico. And so the way Hamilton has returned to the Caribbean islands is to go back and repay them for their kindness through the play. And Lin-Manuel Miranda has actually gone and raised millions of dollars in aid. So in a sense, you could say, couldn't you, that Hamilton really did return with his education?
This kid is insane, man. Took a
Just a
book
thought.
collection just to send him to the mainland. Get your education, don't forget.
Don't get your education. Don't forget from whence you came. Don't forget where you came from. And the world's going to know your name. What's your name, man?
From whence you came, and the world's gonna know your name. What's your name, man? Alexander Hamilton. My name.
You know what we can do? I'm going to do this. I'm going to go and
is Alexander Hamilton. There's a million things I haven't done, but just you wait, just you wait.
When he was 10, his father split, full of it, debt-ridden. 2 years later, see Alex.
Okay, now, when he was 10, his father split, full of it, debt-ridden. Now, that's being sung by his wife, Eliza. And so this guy, his father leaves him when he's 10 years old. 2 years later, when he's 12 years old, Alex and his mother were bedridden. Now, they were in such abject poverty, they didn't have the money for 2 beds. And this was common back then, that the whole family would be in one bed, because that was basically, they didn't have the money for a bunch of beds, so everybody climbs into the same bed. Alex and his mother are bedridden, half dead. And we don't know what disease they had. It might have been yellow fever, malaria. It was some horrible disease. And
his mother bedridden, half dead, sitting in their...
And so the way they paint this is, in the lyrics, they say they're sitting in their own sick, the scent thick. And so what that's saying is they're basically in their vomit, in diarrhea, in gross bodily liquids that are in this bed, and it stinks. It is horrible. But Alex got better, but his mother went quick. So Alexander Hamilton his mother dies in the same bed with him, and they're both sick. Now, that is so traumatic. It gets worse. It actually gets worse. He's only 12 years old, and his mother dies on him under those circumstances. Horrible. Listen to the rest.
And Alex got better, but his mother went quick. Moved in with a cousin, the cousin committed suicide, left him with...
So this guy is struggling. He's now 12 years old in abject poverty. He goes in and he moves in with a cousin. The cousin commits suicide, leaving him with nothing but ruined pride, something new inside. Now, this circumstance would crush most people, okay? It didn't crush Alexander Hamilton. Inside there was a voice saying something to him. What was that voice saying? It's in the lyrics. A voice saying, Alex, you gotta fend for yourself. He started retreating and reading every treat. Okay, now this is very important. The song says, Alex, you gotta fend for yourself. In other words, he can't wallow in self-pity. It's easy in this time of the pandemic to wallow in self-pity. Alexander Hamilton did not have that luxury of wallowing in self-pity. George Washington is singing this part of it, and he says he started retreating and reading every treatise on the shelf. I want to share with you guys a word that you should learn, and maybe you'll be tested on this, okay? And that word is autodidactic. Autodidactic is a word, it's an adjective. Autodidact is the noun, and here's what it means. Very interesting word. But I will tell you, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Alexander Hamilton, and Benjamin Franklin were all autodidacts. They were all autodidactic in terms of their lives. Now, that's an important word, and I want you guys to understand what this means. It's people who are self-taught. Now, they don't learn to read completely by themselves at all. And all 4 of these men that I just mentioned were taught to read up to the 1st grade level. But once they got to the 1st grade level of reading, which was not very much, they started reading other books. And then they took and pulled themselves up to a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th grade level. And they went on and became self-taught and learned and very educated. Washington was an educated man. All 4 of these men, Washington, Hamilton, Abraham Lincoln, and Benjamin Franklin, were educated men, but they didn't have college degrees. These guys didn't even have high school degrees. They didn't even have 8th grade diplomas, but they were educated because they were autodidactic. They would be taught the basics, and then they would go up from there, and they would read themselves and just step by step learn themselves. And there are very few people like that. Very few people can do that kind of thing, but these are men who did. And that's what it means when it says he started retreating and reading every treatise on the shelf. Harry Truman was the only president in the 20th century who did not have a college degree. And Harry Truman was also autodidactic. So if anyone calls you an autodidact, that's a terrific compliment. It may not sound like it now, but if anyone calls you an autodidact, that's a great compliment.
saw the shell. There would have been nothing left to do for someone less astute. He would have been dead.
Wow. Burr says there would have been nothing left to do for someone less astute. He would have been dead or destitute without a cent of restitution. So it's basically saying most people would have just crumbled under the life experience that Alexander Hamilton faced right up to the time he was about your guys' age. Most people would have just crumbled. Alexander Hamilton didn't crumble.
Destitute without a cent of restitution. Started working, clerking for his late mother's landlord, trading sugar cane
and what started working, clerking for his late mother's landlord, trading sugar cane and rum and all the things he can't afford. Now, what it's saying there is he wasn't well paid particularly. He was given enough for food, for clothing, and he worked very hard for just practically nothing. But it was enough that he had far more than most people had in Nevis and St. Croix then. He was trading sugar cane and rum and all the things he can't afford. So he was trading and responsible for a number of people, responsible for this huge responsibility dealing with sugar cane and rum and distributing those things and collecting money. And he couldn't afford to buy them. He didn't make enough to buy this stuff that he was trading. And so, okay, this is scamming for every book he can get his hands on. Planning for the future. See him now as he stands on the bow of a ship, headed for a new land, okay? So that's what autodidactics do. They go out, autodidacts, I should say. They scam for every book they can get their hands on. And that's what these men do. They go out and they trade and they borrow, and then they just do everything they can to get their hands on books. And then they pull themselves up. See him now as he stands on the bow of a ship, headed for a new land. Now, what I love about this music is that when it comes to this part, you can imagine Alexander Hamilton on the bow of a ship. Its sails are filled with wind as it hits the edge of New York Harbor and it starts going into the harbor. And he feels the sea breeze and he feels the moisture and the ocean spray. And I love this song because, like many songs of Hamilton, it captures the emotion. And in this case, it's the emotion of him heading into a new land. And so listen and appreciate and love this music, which articulates so amazingly the moment that Alexander Hamilton is experiencing life.
Get his hands on, planning for the future. See him now as he stands on the bow of a ship, headed for a new land. In New York, you can be a new man. New York, you can just you way. New York, you can just you way. New York, you can be a new man. New York, just you.
Now, what was so interesting about this line is, the ship is in the harbor now. See if you can spot him. Just you wait. Another immigrant coming up from the bottom. And what this shows is this social churning of the social order in this country, that immigrants can come here with nothing, in abject poverty. And yet, through hard work, through applying themselves, and being diligent, they can come up from the bottom. And so here Alexander Hamilton really came here under these terrible circumstances, yet through diligence, hard, and quite frankly, some really being blessed by God, they can come up from the bottom, that they can rise from the lowest rungs of society to the highest levels of society. And he was a man of enormous words and brilliance. And so it was based on that raw intelligence and effort that he could come up from the bottom. And I think this song in the music so captures that spirit. Do you see that?
His enemies destroyed his rep. America forgot him.
We fought with him.
Me, I died for him. Me, I trusted him.
Me, I loved him.
And me, I'm the fool that shot him.
There's a million things I haven't done, but just in a way.
What's your name, man?
Alexander Hamilton.
So did you guys like that? Now I'm not done yet. I got some more. Do you guys like this song? Do you see the did somebody say something there? I'm gonna go to the chat here, see if you okay. I believe this class ends at 1:40. Okay, it doesn't. We can go a little over because we combined two classes, so I got a few minutes. Do you guys mind if we go another 10 minutes and I got some more stuff to show you? Okay, let me show you the part that's at the end now. So you see the beautiful music here. I'm going to show you guys now the final segment.
There's a million things I haven't done. Just you wait, just you wait.
When he was 10, his father split, full of it, debt-ridden. 2 years later, see Alex and his mother bedridden, half dead, sitting in their own sick, the scent thick, and Alex got better, but his mother went quack.
Moved in with the cousin committed suicide. Left him with nothing but ruined pride. Something new inside, a voice saying, Alex, you gotta fend for yourself. He started retreating and reading every treatise on the shelf.
There would have been nothing left to do for someone less astute. He would have been dead or destitute without a sense of restitution. Started working for his late mother's landlord, trading sugar cane and rum and all the things he can't afford. Scamming for every book he can get his hands on. Planning for the future, see him now as he stands on the bow of a ship headed for a new land. In New York, you can be a new man. In New York, you can be a new man. In New York, you can just you man. In New York, you can be a new man. In New York, just you man. Alexander Hamilton, Alexander Hamilton. We are waiting in the wings for you. Waiting in the wings. You will never back down and never learn to take your time. Oh, Alexander Hamilton, Alexander Hamilton. America sings for you. Will they know what you overcame? Will they know you rewrote the game? The world will never be the same. Oh, the ship is in the harbor now. See if you can spot it. Another immigrant coming up from the bottom. His enemies destroyed his rep. America forgot him.
We fought with him.
Me, I died for him. Me, I trusted him.
Me, I loved him.
And me, I'm the damn fool that shot him. What's your name, man? Alexander Hamilton.
Okay, now. Oh, Braden, what were you clapping, Braden? So anyway, now that I went through the lyrics and I explained the lyrics, can you guys, okay, you guys like this music and you like this musical, yes or no? Okay, you like the music and everything? Don't you think it helps you to appreciate the musical and appreciate the music when you know the history and what the lyrics mean? So we're going to go through and study the life of Alexander Hamilton, and we're going to use this means of communicating that and teaching it by going through each single song and meticulously going through and seeing all the songs. And And so that's what I want to do. And that's, so we'll wind it up now. And we combine classes. So my intent is to take whatever long it takes to get through the material. And sometimes class may be 35 minutes long. Sometimes it may be 45 or 55 minutes long. You know, I'm not going to promise that it's going to be cutting off at a particular moment, but we'll just cover this material as we go. And do you guys love, I mean, I love this material. Do you sense that I love it? Can you see that I love it? I want you to love it. I want you guys to love this material like I do. Is that asking a lot? Is that asking too much? Okay, okay. Okay, good. God bless you guys. Have a good day. We'll see you later. Bye.